The day my yacht went under looked like liquid gold. The sunset was perfect if you ignored the $15 million boat sinking right in front of me. Pieces of teak wood, silk curtains, and champagne bottles floated across the marina like confetti from someone else's celebration. And there she was, Karen Whitmore, the HOA president, standing at the end of the dock with her bubblegum pink blazer and her smug little clipboard, smiling like she'd just saved the world. "Your yacht violates community standards," she said. "It's too big. You'll thank us later." I didn't shout. I didn't move. I just watched as the Odyssey, my masterpiece, my second chance, disappeared beneath the surface. They thought they'd humiliated me. What they didn't know was that Karen had just destroyed a yacht sitting on my dock in my marina land I owned. I didn't buy the Odyssey to show off. I built her from scratch. After 20 years as a naval engineer, I'd had enough of deadlines, of noise, of other people's chaos. I wanted calm, salt air, quiet mornings, sunrise coffee. So when I retired, I bought a slip at Bayrest Marina in Florida, a picture-perfect coastal neighborhood, the kind you'd see on postcards. Families walking along the boardwalk, kids feeding pelicans, retirees chatting about fishing licenses. It felt like paradise. That is, until I met the people who thought they ruled it. The Bayrest Homeowners Association, HOA for short, was a little group of retirees who treated the neighborhood like a kingdom. And their queen was Karen Whitmore. Mid-50s, tan lines shaped like entitlement, and a voice that could shatter calm seas. She wore pastel suits, drove a white Lexus, and carried her clipboard like it was the Constitution. The first time she saw the Odyssey, she appeared within minutes, heels clicking on the dock like a metronome of disapproval. "Lovely boat," she said, peering over her sunglasses. "Shame it's enormous." I smiled. 75 feet of craftsmanship, registered, licensed, insured, and perfectly legal. She frowned like I'd insulted her garden. "This community values balance," she said. "Modesty." "Balance," I repeated. "Sure. I'll keep her balanced." I didn't realize that day that I'd just become her personal project. Within a week, I started getting violation letters. "Your vessel obstructs the scenic view. Noise disturbance at 6:42 p.m. Excessive aesthetic contrast." I laughed when I read that one aesthetic contrast. I've read military contracts that made more sense. But I tried to be civil. I attended one of their HOA meetings. Karen sat at the front like a queen holding court. "Mr. Hayes," she said, "your yacht casts shadows on other docks. It affects resale value. We request that you remove or replace it. Replace a $15 million yacht." I bit my tongue. "Karen, I said my permits are valid. The marina guidelines don't mention size limits." Her smile tightened. "We'll see about that." And oh, she did. Soon I was fined for everything: decorative lights, parking in my own driveway, even for unsanctioned water features, which turned out to mean the reflection of my boat lights on the water. Then one night my yacht went dark. Power gone. Shore connection cut. When I confronted her the next morning, she sipped iced tea on her porch and said, "Non-compliant vessels lose privileges." "Community policy." "You mean your policy?" I shot back. She tilted her head. "Same thing, really." That's when I realized what I was dealing with. Not a neighbor. A dictator with a clipboard. But instead of losing my temper, I started keeping notes, photos, letters, every smug comment. I called the folder HOA Evidence. A month later, she passed a new amendment. No watercraft exceeding 55 feet allowed. It was so obviously targeted at me, I almost admired her audacity. But when I checked the property documents, I found something she didn't know. The HOA didn't own the marina. It was leased from a holding company, Bayrest Harbor Holdings, LLC, a company I happened to own. She'd been enforcing rules on property that legally belonged to me. I didn't tell her right away. I just waited. 3 weeks later, she posted a bright red sign beside my dock. All non-compliant vessels must vacate within 72 hours. She thought she had me cornered. I called her, pretending to be polite. "Karen, it's Michael. Quick question. Where do your community statutes apply?" She gave that condescending little laugh. "Michael, your yacht is an eyesore. If you don't comply, we'll handle it." "Handle it," I repeated. "Got it." I recorded the call. I had a feeling I'd need it. Then came the circus. HOA board members showed up with measuring tapes and clipboards acting like they were the Coast Guard. One of them even dropped his ruler into the water. Karen stood behind them whispering orders. I watched it all from my deck drinking lemonade. But that night, something changed. 3 of my security cameras went offline. The next morning my power cable was cut clean through, so I confronted her at the HOA office. "Karen, you've cut power to private property," I said. "That's a felony. We're enforcing safety standards." She smiled. "You think pulling live wires in the rain is safe?" I asked. She tapped her clipboard. "You're not welcome here. The board has voted. Your yacht must go." I leaned in. "Funny, because the board doesn't own this dock." For the first time she blinked. "The HOA governs all community areas," she said sharply. "No," I replied. "You manage them. And this marina isn't yours to manage." She went pale, but she didn't back down. Instead, she escalated. Within 48 hours, county inspectors showed up. Anonymous complaints, environmental hazards, oil leaks, noise pollution, all fake. All traced back to her. She wanted to wear me down, make me give up. And for a while, I almost did. I'd sit on my boat at night staring at the water, wondering if it was worth it. If I was being stubborn, maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't belong in her precious community. For the first time I felt small, like a guest unwelcome in my own home. But then I looked at the Odyssey, the lights flickering on the surface, the reflection of everything I'd built, and I realized I wasn't the intruder here. I was the anchor, and she was just a storm passing through. So I decided to fight back, but quietly. Patience is a weapon most people don't know how to use. I started digging into HOA finances. My lawyer, Elaine Porter, helped me file records requests. What we found was unbelievable fake maintenance invoices, dock safety fees charged on property they didn't own, even event catering paid for with community funds. It was a house built on sand, and Karen was standing proudly on top of it. Then came the night everything exploded. A thunderstorm rolled in one of those Florida tempests that turns the sky black in minutes. My phone buzzed, motion detected. I opened the feed and froze. Flashlights glinting off wet metal. A tugboat creeping toward my slip. Men in reflective vests attaching ropes to my yacht. And their umbrella in one hand, clipboard in the other, was Karen. Even in a storm, she dressed for control. I ran out into the rain yelling, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "Removing a non-compliant vessel," she screamed. "Community order must be restored. That's private property." "Not anymore. You had your chance to cooperate." The tugboat's engine roared. The cable went taut. My yacht groaned metal against metal like a wounded animal. "Stop," I shouted. "You'll tear the hull." But she screamed back, "Keep pulling." Sparks flew as the cleats snapped. Rain hammered the deck. Thunder cracked, and then an awful sound. The Odyssey tilted, shuddered, and began to sink. The storm swallowed her whole. My masterpiece disappeared into the dark water. Karen stood there, soaked makeup running, shouting over the wind. "This is what happens when you defy the HOA." I just looked at her. Calm. Filming. "Hope your clipboard's waterproof," I said. "You'll need it in court." The next morning she was on the news calling it a safety operation. Claimed the yacht was unstable and dangerous. She even forged a county letter to back it up. But she'd made one fatal mistake. She did it all on camera. My camera. I handed everything to Elaine. Video, audio, fake permits, and a copy of the deed showing I owned the marina. She looked at me and said, "She's cooked." Karen, of course, didn't know that. She threw a clean marina brunch to celebrate her victory. Balloons, banners, the whole thing. I showed up uninvited. She smiled that fake smile. "Mr. Hayes here to make peace." "Something like that," I said, handing her an envelope. Inside, legal notice of trespass and property destruction claim. Effective immediately, I said, Bayrest HOA is prohibited from operating in my marina. She blinked. You can't do this? I already did, I said, walking out as the room fell silent. From that moment the tide turned. I built my case brick by brick. A forensic accountant uncovered embezzlement. A private investigator traced payments for the tugboat to Karen's personal account, the storm cleanup invoice she'd submitted for a hurricane that never even reached our county. Fraud, wire fraud, property destruction. When we were ready, Elaine filed the lawsuit Bayrest Harbor Holdings versus Bayrest HOA. The day of the trial, the courthouse looked like a stage. Reporters everywhere. Karen arrived in lavender pearls, shining chin high as if she was walking into a photo shoot. Her lawyer started with, "My client acted in the community's best interest." The judge interrupted, "By sinking a $15 million yacht." He stammered. Elaine stood calm as ever. "Your Honor, Exhibit A." The courtroom screens lit up. Rain, thunder, Karen's voice shouting, "Push it off the dock!" Gasps filled the room. Then came Exhibit B, the financial records showing payments made from her private account. Exhibit C, the Marina deed under my name. The judge turned to Karen. "You destroyed property you didn't own using money that wasn't yours." Karen's voice cracked. "I was protecting property values." "By committing fraud?" the judge asked. Silence. Elaine leaned in. "Authority without ownership," she said softly, "is just arrogance with a name tag." The ruling was swift. The HOA was found liable for destruction fraud and misappropriation of funds, ordered to pay full restitution, $22.4 million. Karen herself faced criminal charges. As the gavel hit, I felt something leave my chest. Months of frustration, anger, helplessness, gone. Karen sat frozen, her pearls crooked, her empire collapsing in silence. I walked out into the sunlight, reporters shouting my name. I stopped, turned to the cameras and said, "They said my yacht was too big. Turns out their ego was bigger." And that's where it ends. No celebration, no champagne, no revenge parties. Just the sound of the tide calm again. I didn't win because I shouted louder. I won because I stood my ground, patient as the sea waiting for the storm to drown itself. Lesson learned. When people try to sink you with their power, let the truth be your tide. It always comes back stronger.